Afternoon, everyone. Good to see you. Welcome to our Get Property Wise Wednesday chat. So thanks for joining us. We've got Marisia Robus from Gauteng Property Inspections with us. Just a shout out, Marisia.
Hello, Candice. Nice to be here. Thank you for the invitation.
Okay,
awesome.
How are you doing? How's the weather that side? Where are you? Where are you logging in from?
I am near Fourways in Johannesburg, and it's the first real cold day of winter today. The wind is really, really chilly.
Actually, this whole week, I've actually dodged my morning jog for Monday. I'll push it out to next week and see what it's like.
Luckily, we haven't had snow yet.
Yeah. Luckily, but I hope it comes. But thanks for joining us. Guys, my name is Leroy Slava from Property Pick. And this is Candice. Candice, say hi.
Hello, everyone. Candice van Wyk here. Good to see you all again. Welcome.
Yeah, I think we're gonna have an interesting discussion with Marisia here from the Gauteng Property Inspections, who's a specialist in property inspection. She's been doing it for many years, and it's going to be a very, very interesting topic that we're going to have here today. But let's see who we have. We have Enrico. We have Enrico. We've got Cindy, Radwan, Pini.
Awesome.
How's it?
Cindy, Stevens, Iris, thanks for joining us. We can see you joining. Thank you.
Okay, good stuff. So guys, what we want to do as well is if you have questions for Marisia, put it in the comment section. We'll be asking her a few questions. She'll be giving us expert advice. And then I think we'll take your questions close to the end. So it'll be about a half an hour. We'll take it about 20 minutes. So if you do have questions, put it on. We'll take your questions. But I think let me just tell you who Property Pick is. So Property Pick is an online property portal. So we created this about 2 years ago. And the portal was created to connect investors to investment opportunities, property deals specific. So Property Pick, your #1 property shop. If you're looking for investment opportunities, if you have properties, investment properties that you want to load onto the platform, load it on there. And yeah, exciting news today. I just loaded spreadsheets on there for you for the investors. So deal spreadsheets, portfolio spreadsheets, how to analyze your portfolio. I even loaded a monthly budget spreadsheet on there for you. So go subscribe and check out our website. It's www.propertypick.co.za. Okay, so I think let's get into it. So Marisia, I think let's get into it. Maybe if you could just tell us more about who you are, when you started, how long you've been in the industry, and tell us more about the Gauteng Property Inspections and what you guys do there.
Thank you, Leroy. First of all, I hope that with your spreadsheets and your monthly expenses that you've loaded for the people, that you've also put a line item there for maintenance, because that is very, very important. And investors tend to forget to do maintenance. And then when something is totally broken and it's going to cost a huge amount of money to repair, then they all stress. And those of you who know me know that I'm absolutely fanatical about maintenance. But I started my journey in construction. I worked for my dad in his construction company. And the day I started working for him, he started building a new house. And he said that I had to go to site every single day. And as the bricklayer and the plasterer and the electrician and plumber and tiler were doing their things, he would say to me, the tiler's making nonsense, the plumber's doing this wrong. So I learned from the ground up. And that is why when I do inspections today and I see a crack, first of all, there are 15 different types of cracks. And you do not use the same filler to repair them all. So when I see it, sorry?
How many did you say, 15 or 50?
No, 15, 15.
15 different types of cracks.
Yes. Okay. And when I see a crack, I know what went wrong behind the crack and why there is a crack. And that is what makes me different from all the other property inspectors, is I have this construction experience. And then I'm also an ITC, which is the Institute for Timber Construction, certified roof inspector. There are only 2 women in the country, but I'm the only female roof inspector that actually work in the industry. And I love it. A friend asked me the other day, what is the first thing you're going to do after lockdown? And I said, climb on a roof. I miss climbing on roofs. I'm tired of climbing on my own roof.
Serious, because I don't enjoy that at all.
I love it. The view from up on the roof. If you follow me on Facebook, you will see a lot of times I publish photographs of this is the view on the roof that I am today. I love being on top of roofs.
And high roofs, like buildings and high buildings and a few floors as well.
Definitely. If I do an inspection for a property for an owner, whether the owner is buying, especially if they're buying the entire building, I have to get on top of the roof, because if there are problems on the roof, it is going to cost you a lot of money to repair.
Marisia, but I want to say well done. Hey? I mean, you say you're one of 2 ITC roof inspectors in the country, so that's really awesome. And
no, one of 2 women. They're only 2 qualified women, but I'm the only woman that is working. And our company, our inspection company, is the only inspection company with certified roof inspectors.
No, that's really awesome. Well done on that. And I think maybe on another chat, we need to get you back on so that we can talk to some other women out there, so that you could potentially share with them in terms of how they can, you know, get certified, and so that we can grow the industry. So well done on that.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, that's good. Well done. So Marisia, I think we've got a few questions for you. We want to run through a few things we thought about and a few questions that were asked by our listeners. And the first question is, as an investor looking at a property and as a first-time buyer, maybe if you can take us through the 2 different, as an investor, when viewing a property, and what would you look for? When you do an inspection, and as a first-time buyer, what would be the difference for an investor and for a first-time buyer when going out to view a property? What advice would you give us there?
Okay, so as an investor, very, very importantly is to run the numbers. But you have to include in running those numbers, what maintenance must you do and what is it going to cost you? Because, for instance, if the people have not been cleaning the gutters regularly and the gutters are now rusted through, on a normal 3-bedroom house, it could cost you 15 to 20,000 Rand to replace those gutters. So as a home owner, if you're a first-time home buyer, you are going to have to replace those gutters, because there's nothing more horrible than your beautiful house that you're so excited about and people arrive and the gutters are hanging in tatters. As a property investor, you need to do regular maintenance. But when you buy a property for an investment and you want to rent it out, you don't necessarily have to have the best tiles, the best laminated flooring, the best built-in cupboards. You need to have items that are functional, that look good, but most importantly, that they must last long and they must be able to take a bit of a beating. Whereas if you're buying a property for yourself and you want to go and live in it, you might be spending a little bit more on the tiles. You might rather be putting laminated flooring in than tiles in the bedrooms. You might choose more expensive door handles for the built-in cupboards and for the kitchen. But as an investor, you will choose the cheaper options, but you have to look and make sure that you buy items that are going to last.
Okay, so you're saying you're saying as an investor, it needs to be durable. It needs to look good, but it needs to be durable. And
yes.
And as a first-time home buyer, you can obviously put whatever you want in it. So basically, don't fall in love with the property as an investor.
Okay, as an investor, you need to fall in love with the numbers more than you fall in love with the property. And as a first-time home buyer, for somebody who wants to live in a property, you need to fall in love with a property. And a good thing to remember if you buy your first property is buy the worst house in the best street, because you can fix up the house. You can retile, you can put new gutters on, you can clean the garden out, you can paint it nicely, you can do all of these things, and then you know you are in good company. So if you buy the worst house in the best street, spend a little bit of money over time, and you will definitely get your money back on your investment.
No, that's
awesome.
Good.
Thanks for that, Marisia. So you've shared some really good insights there. So definitely not to overcapitalize as an investor. And like Leroy said, we shouldn't be falling in love with the properties, because we're not going to be staying in those properties. So we always need to remember that, yes, we want to make sure that the property is well maintained and it's in a good condition for our tenants. But we need to remember that we don't go for the best as far as tiles and other finishings are concerned. So that's really good guidance there. The other thing that I want to ask you, Marisia, and I think it's probably also linked to the first question, is that in your opinion and your experience, what are some of the worst mistakes that investors and first-time home buyers make when they buy a property? So if you can just share some of your insights in that area.
Candace, if you go and you view a property and it's just been painted, don't be excited. Start worrying. What are they hiding? If I walk into a property and it's just been painted, I go, oh dear, now my inspection is taking an hour longer, because I need to find out what are they hiding. Because they've just painted over all the cracks, they've just painted over the damp, and it's going to rear its ugly head in a year or two's time. And now the place looks all pretty and you're paying top dollar. So rather buy a property which is showing all its warts and all its cracks and the damp and everything, because then you can repair it, not patch it. People have to remember there is a huge difference between repairing and patching. If you patch something, it'll be back. 2 months, 3 months, maybe 6 months. But if you repair it, it will never come back again. And one of the biggest mistakes people make when they buy property is they do not climb on top of the roof and they do not climb into the roof. Now, I love it. As I say, I'm a roof inspector. I love climbing on top of the roof, and I love climbing into the roof and having a look at the roof trusses. I did a maintenance inspection for a client just before the lockdown. And when I got out of the roof, I said to him, did the seller disclose to you that the roof burned? And he said, no. And the roof trusses had serious fire damage. They were charred. And in my opinion, at least 6 of the roof trusses had to be replaced. The seller had moved to New Zealand. He had no comeback on the seller. And he's now left with replacing roof trusses. Because if one of those roof trusses break, the insurance is not going to consider his claim because he hasn't done maintenance. So it is very, very important. Roof problems can be very expensive to repair. And insurance will not consider your claim if you've not done maintenance. If your valleys are not clean, if there are leaves blocking the valleys, if your ridges are not sealed, if you've got broken tiles that have moved out of position, if your flashing is not done, if the waterproofing is not serviced, all of those things will cause roof leaks. And if you have a roof leak, first thing insurance does is they check, have you done maintenance? And if you haven't, they say, sorry, we're not paying, and you can do absolutely nothing about it.
That's very good, Marisia, because I think you are right. I mean, one of the things that we do neglect as investors is definitely, checking the roofs. And as you say, it can really cause some major dents in our budget, if we are not aware of some of the the fixes that need to take place there. So no, thanks for sharing that. Another incident that I had also, and I think this also goes for sectional title properties, is that sometimes even with the sectional title properties, we also neglect to check some of these things in terms of the gutters. And one of the issues that I had on my properties not so long ago was that the gutters were not being well maintained. And what happened is, as a result of that blockage in the gutters, with all the rain that we got not so long ago, all of that rain obviously then, was just being blocked in the gutters, and it basically started filtrating through the walls, which obviously caused some of the leakage on the inside of the walls. So I think even in terms of sectional titles, it's important for us to also have those conversations with the body corporates. How often are they maintaining some of these issues? Because when the problem happens, because what's happening in this particular case is they're trying to, pass the blame to obviously the top unit, thinking that there's a leakage from the top unit, when in fact that's not the situation. It's actually the gutters that has been blocked. So I think even in sectional titles, we definitely need to be aware of, maintenance taking place in complexes and how often these are done.
Candice, what I advise my clients when they buy into a sectional title complex is they have to get the last 2 years audited financials of the body corporate to ensure that the body corporate is not bankrupt and that they are putting money away for maintenance. But then they must also get the 10-year maintenance plan of the complex. And when I do an inspection for them, I just cast my eye over the complex and I just have a check. Okay, they said they were going to paint this last year. Did they paint it? No, they didn't. When are they planning? Are they cleaning the gutters every year? You have to clean the gutters at least once a year. You have to trim the trees back from the roofs. That's very, very important. And that is why when you buy into a sectional title complex, as I say, don't just do the numbers. Get the 10-year maintenance schedule. And I always say to my clients, email it through to me and I will have a look at that. That's my business. And I will see whether the body corporate is doing what they are supposed to do.
So that's very good advice there. Thanks for that. So that's something that I definitely wasn't aware about getting that 10-year maintenance plan. So I think that's really good guidance for investors. And I think we should definitely apply that in terms of us analyzing those deals. So great stuff. Thanks for your insights there.
Yeah, thanks. Marisia, I just got a question. You said you need to fall in the beginning. Let me just go back a couple of questions. So you need to fall in love with running the numbers.
Yes.
Don't fall in love with the property, fall in love with running the numbers and include maintenance on it, right?
Yes.
Now, when buying a property on the number side for maintenance, what would you say is a fair amount that you need to budget in, or percentage that you need to budget in for your maintenance?
Leroy, that is determined a lot by the condition of the property. So if the property is in a bad condition, you're going to have to spend a lot of money in the beginning to get it up to standard. But I compile 10-year maintenance plans for investors. But as a general rule of thumb, if you put away 10% of your monthly rental into an account, you can get away with doing decent maintenance on your property. And if you don't use all of that money, it just comes back to you into your pocket at the end of the day. But if something does go wrong, you do have the money to pay for it and to repair it, not patch it.
Okay, that's good. So you're saying that from your monthly rental, let's say it's 10,000, you put 1,000 rand into a separate account for maintenance.
That's it.
In case even if nothing's wrong with the property, you still put it because obviously you will have maintenance in a few years. Or
that's true. And then if you put this money away, a lot of times when people buy properties, for instance, they might not have the laminated, or what is it called? The white shelves inside the built-in cupboards. They might have the raw shelves. Now, those raw shelves get dirty. So if you don't have any serious maintenance to do on the property, you can use that money to paint the inside of the built-in cupboards with enamel paint, which is very easy to wash off and clean then. Or you can do things like, I always advise my investors to paint the inside of the unit, the ceilings of the kitchen and the bathrooms with enamel paint, because a lot of times people don't open the windows when they shower and bath, and you get mold growing on the ceilings. Now, if it's painted with enamel paint, it's very easy to wipe it off. The other thing, if you build up a nice kitty for maintenance, you can then paint the inside of the unit with a good quality wash and wear silk, or one of the really, really good quality paints. Now, that's the other thing I always tell my investors and the homeowners: run your numbers before you do any maintenance. It might cost you 5,000 Rand to paint the inside of the unit with wash and wear silk, and it might cost you 3,000 Rand to paint it with Builders Warehouse no-name brand paint. But the no-name brand paint, you're going to have to paint in 2 years' time again. Whereas with a wash and wear silk, it comes with up to a 7, and some of the paints come with a 12-year guarantee.
True.
So run your numbers. If you can, when a tenant moves out, just wash the walls instead of repainting, you save a lot of money. And it works out in the end.
So cheap, my father always said, he said, cheap things always cost you more in the end, eh?
Definitely, most definitely.
I think, Marisia, the time's moving so quickly here. I think we got a couple of questions. Let's cover, I've got 2 from my side. Pastor Edward Salinda, how's it, Pastor? Pastor's happy the churches are opening. Hey. So Pastor Edward asked, how much does it cost to get a property inspector to inspect a property before buying? So basically he's asking, what your fees are and how it would work to get you out to inspect a property.
Okay, Leroy, so I base my quote on the number of rooms, but to give you a ballpark figure, the first 8 rooms, so that will be a 3 bedrooms, kitchen, 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, lounge, dining, kitchen, will be 3,500 Rand. If it is a smaller place, if it's a 1 bedroom or a 2 bedroom flat, I obviously charge less. And if it's a building or a block of flats, it's obviously more. But if you go onto my website, it's very clearly above my head. There's a button that says get a quote. You just fill in all the details there, and I'm very quick on the draw. You will receive a quote back very, very quickly.
Okay. Just a quick question. Thanks, Marissa. Pastor Edward, I hope that answers your question. Go to the website. It says Gauteng Inspections. Do you do inspections anywhere else in the country or just in Gauteng for our listeners, maybe from Cape Town or Durban?
I do go to Durban once a month for a couple of days to do inspections there. I'm actually next week that I can work again. I'm going to Middelburg on Wednesday. So I do travel outside of Gauteng. If it's very far away from where I am, I just charge a little bit of travel. But yes, I do work outside of Gauteng for a small extra amount for traveling.
Okay, that's good, Pastor Edward. I hope that does answer your question. Then we've got another one from Luke Jean. Luki, how are you, my man? Long time no see. We got one from Luki. Luki said, what happens when you have bought a property and didn't really know all of these checks? Can you hold the previous owner accountable?
At the moment, when you buy a property, you're buying it footsteps. In other words, it means you are buying it as you are seeing it. But we have assisted clients through our reports to get damages paid by previous clients when they have just painted the place and there were very obvious, serious roof leaks. If the estate agent has a property declaration form on the offer to purchase, and the seller said, no, there are no roof leaks, and the first time it rains when you've moved into the house, there are these huge roof leaks, you can most definitely nail the seller. The other thing that I've had 2 or 3 clients who have the structural cracks have developed in their houses within the first 8 to 9 months of them taking occupation of the house. Upon investigation, we then found that the sellers had done additions to the houses. In the one case, it was a kitchen and a lounge, and the other case, it was 3 bedrooms and a master bathroom, and these were done without approved plans. They obviously didn't have engineers who designed the foundations, And that is why these very, very serious structural cracks developed. The one crack was 45 millimeters wide. I could stick my arm into the crack, and that house was actually condemned. So in that case, if it's within the first 2 years, you can go back to the seller, and they had the sale cancelled because the seller sold them a fraudulent house. He knew very well that he did not have approved building plans and that he didn't build it according to national building regulations. Now, there is going to be more protection for property buyers with the new Property Practitioners Bill. It is a legal requirement that the sellers declare all the defects to the buyers, as well as you will require a SPLUMA certificate from October this year before transfer can go through. Now, the SPLUMA certificate is issued by the Town Council to confirm that there are approved building plans on file as the house stands now. So if the person added something on, the sale will not go through until he's got approved building plans done, and it has to be signed by an engineer. And if something goes wrong, you then go back to the engineer and you say, bring your professional indemnity insurance and come and fix this.
Marisia, can you just spell that for us? So what
Yes.
certificate is it called? Just spell that first, the SPLUMA certificate.
Okay, S for sugar,
Yes.
PLUMA. It's the spatial planning and something. I will post a link to an article on your Facebook page later, and the people can go and read up about it.
Okay, so just to clarify again, Marisia, so what you're saying is that from September onwards, you say
From
that October onwards, sellers will no longer be able to sell their homes if they do not have a SPLUMA certificate in place, and this is for any additions that they did to the existing structure.
Yes, so the SPLUMA law came into effect quite a while ago. I actually think in 2016. And what it said is that the municipalities are allowed to refuse to issue rates clearance certificates unless approved building plans are on site. But the municipalities have not enforced that. So now they have said this law has to be enforced because there are numerous problems with people adding on, doing alterations, adding on rooms in their backyards, which they are renting out. The building is not being done according to national building regulations, number one. And number two, the town councils are losing out on rates and taxes that they can charge on the new improved properties. So the law's been around for a long time. It just has to be enforced from October. And the deeds office will not accept any properties for transfer without a SPLUMA certificate.
That's awesome. And I think we also touched on this in a previous Wednesday chat. So one of the things we also spoke about is that some of the zoning definitions have been updated for the various municipalities. So I think as investors and as sellers, make sure that you know what your zoning definition is, and you also know what is allowed within that zoning definition before you obviously want to sell your property, to make sure that you are compliant in terms of what needs to be in place. I think that's very important. And of course, for investors, also make sure that you understand what the zoning definitions are for your local municipalities, and make sure you check that on the properties when you buy your property. So that's some good insight there as well.
So Marisia, thank you, Candice. Marisia, what I'm getting is that if you're buying a property, it would be wise to get an inspector to go out, because if there is cracks or the roof or whatever there is, and you find out afterwards, there's obviously legal fees and other professional fees that come in to obviously get that sorted. So it'd be wise to spend it up front, make sure you get the right information, you know what's happening in the property, instead of finding it out afterwards and going through that legal fees, which would obviously cost a lot more.
Most definitely, Leroy. And once you have an inspection report, you can negotiate a better price for the property, especially if you're a property investor. So I always tell my clients, make your offer to purchase subject to a full property inspection and the outcome thereof being acceptable to you. So you put your offer in, you get your offer accepted. Now I climb into the roof and I see there are burnt trusses. Now you say to the seller, either you get an engineer's, or you say to the seller, I want an engineer certificate certifying that this roof is in perfect condition. Because you are then covered that if something goes wrong with the roof, the engineer's professional indemnity has to sign it. Or if the engineer says, no, 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 these trusses must be replaced, it's not going to be for your account. Or you negotiate and say to the seller, I will replace the trusses, but I want 300,000 Rand off the price.
Yeah.
So it's your decision, but it's a very, very strong tool, especially for property investors. It is a buyer's market. It was a buyer's market before COVID. Now, after COVID, I think it's going to be even more of a buyer's market, but everybody is going to want to buy property. And this is an extra tool that you have that you can use, because it's not you telling the seller, listen, I think that's an a structural crack, and the seller says, no, it's not, it's a plaster crack, and the agent is trying to talk over you. You now have a property report, which you now use as a bargaining tool. And the other thing that people must remember is once you have informed the seller and the agent of these defects, they are legally obliged to inform all future buyers of all the defects, because the sellers hide behind the fact, oh, I didn't know the roof was leaking. You know, nice try. But now he knows, because I'm saying, here's a photograph. I took it in the roof. Look how the ceiling boards are stained. Or I'm telling you that the trusses are burnt. Here are the photographs. What are you going to do about it? So there are no arguments from the seller or the agent. And the other thing, now you're dropping your price by 100,000, 500,000, whatever the amount is, and the seller doesn't want to accept it. He's not going to get a better offer, because legally he has to inform all future buyers of all the defects that I have found.
Awesome.
Sure.
Marisia, thank you so much for your insights. We have run out of time, and I definitely think we need to do another session with you in the future, because I think there's probably some more questions. But just for all of you who are online, I do not see any further questions. So thanks for those of you who did contribute. But remember, please go and check out Marisia's website. So it's www.gautenginspect.co.za. You are able to then submit a request directly to her, and she would be able then to assist you in any of the inspections that you need to do on any of your properties, whether you are a first-time buyer, whether you are an investor. Please, you've heard that it's important for us to use these services to help us with our properties going forward. So definitely do check her out. And then also for those of you who haven't subscribed to our platform, please visit us, www.propertypick.co.za. We heard last week as well, now is a good time to start analyzing deals. And of course, from 1 June, Marisia's services will be available. So you'd be able to also have her assist you with some of those viewings. So please remember that. So subscribe to our platform. If you're a seller, you need to sell quickly for whatever reason. And if your property is in any condition, don't you worry, list your property. We have investors out there who are looking to buy properties in any condition. And then of course, for investors, remember to subscribe. And we've got some awesome deals available for you. So thank you so much, Marisia, for joining us. Leroy, some last words from you.
Thank you, Marisia. That was good. I've made a lot of mistakes there, and that helped me. I hope it helped all the people listening out there.
Thank you,
as I
Leroy.
said, time's too short here. We have to call you back. We need about an hour or 2 hours to get through it all.
Definitely. And then next time I can share some photographs, because in case the people don't believe me, I can show you some horror pictures.
Awesome.
I'm sure. So guys, thanks for logging in. Thanks for taking your time out. We'll be back next week, same time. Property, what's it? Get property wise. Get property wise. Wednesdays, 1 o'clock. We'll be interviewing estate agents are out next week. So we were interviewing one of the best estate agents in Gauteng. So put it in your calendar, put an alert, and join us every week at 1 o'clock.
Awesome.
So thank you guys. God bless you. Thank you, Marisia. Thank you, Candace. Thank you.
Thanks,
guys.
everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Leroy. Thanks, Candace. Keep well.
Okay.
Bye.
You'll be
Bye-bye.
posting the link in the chat, Marisia.
I will do that.
Okay, good stuff.
Awesome.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Leroy. Thanks, everyone.
Okay, bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye-bye.